Ding dong, the bounty hunter's dead.
Whoa.
Boba Fett collecting the bounty has been suspended from Star Wars Unlimited premiere gameplay, and we're going to talk about it today.
What's going on, guys? Clone Force 23. We got Alex here, and my boy Alec, also known as Roger Mack.
What
We're
up?
we're talking about some pretty hot news that we got today.
Some
Eh,
great news today.
some great news. I don't know. If you look at our last videos, you would see that we self-established ourselves as a Boba hate video, as a whole
We
Boba hate
are,
channel. And we
yeah,
we
yeah.
still are, but we're just gonna say it only took us 2 videos to get this done. To get this done.
Nah, we came out of the blue. Channel started 2 videos later. Boba's banned. Hey, I mean, you know, thank us later. Thank us
Heroes of the
later.
community, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
yeah. So, I'm sure everyone's seen it. If you haven't, go check out the stream. Go check out the article. We're gonna talk about it, but this is a huge meta shift. Especially
This
with
is
coming into the new set here.
Yeah, first day of set 3 legality, and we
Mhm.
have the first suspension slash ban in Star Wars Unlimited.
Yeah. Um, I do like the concept of a suspension in general instead of a outright ban. I appreciate the idea of having like flexibility overall, but this was definitely the exact place to start.
Yeah, yeah, I think the wording is good of like calling it a suspension. It's funny because like it basically is a ban. Like you think of the ban list from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Hmm.
They revisit those cards every time that they do it, and they take some off, they add more on.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, but I do like their kind of outright saying, hey, this is a suspension list, meaning at least once a set, we will be reviewing this list.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I think it's healthy to have that review in place. I know there's a lot of conversations about what set rotation is going to look like, but that's if you look at other TCGs, that's that could be multiple sets away. So to address
Yeah.
this problem now is extremely healthy for the game.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, before we even get into it, I just want to shout out FFG. I mean, this
hundred.
is I honestly did not think this would happen. I did not think we were going to
Mm-hmm.
have a suspended list or ban list or you know restricted pairing of colors or leaders. Whatever the world had
Mm-hmm.
imagined. I just did not think that was going to happen. And for a studio to already implement this change on the day one of their third set, that's like to me speaks wonders. That like I'm locked in. I'm
Mm-hmm.
all in on this game because of that. I mean, there has been like great things before this addressing the prize support for the PQs and stuff. They were on top of that, but this is like boom, they were there. They are on
Mm-hmm.
top of this. They're listening to the community. I mean, the live stream was like half an hour long, maybe. I don't think it was very long.
Yeah, it
Um,
was about that, and like
it, it was
response.
like just that.
Yeah, but the responsiveness was great. But I also appreciated just the detail, and we'll talk about it a little bit. Like PQs, it was what were the numbers that they gave? 40% representation in the top cut and 55% of 55% of the winners were Boba. And
Yeah,
not only did they recognize that, but they recognized the fact that it was represented in multiple aspects. So I think almost every aspect had representation in those statistics. So Boba Green, Boba Yellow, Boba Red, and Boba Blue. Um,
right.
and that just itself speaks to the kind of nature of what the problem was, which was an overstated leader with a catch-all ability. It did not
Yeah,
require you to have like a certain archetype or a certain gameplay strategy. It was you're removing cards from play and you get resources.
Yeah, just a universally like broken, no requirement ability. You put that ability on any leader in the game, and they're good.
Hmm.
Like nothing else. You would need to do nothing else.
Yeah, and you've just seen the other leaders that have come out on 5, and they're at least 2 to 3 stat lines shorter.
Yeah,
And if they're closer than that, they don't have as strong of an ability. So,
right.
like, again, props to FFG for making that call. Um, Being responsive, I think, is super healthy right now. Um, Hoping that continues, and I'm excited to kind of see what comes next. And
Yeah,
that kind of seems to be the big question right now is what does that mean for the meta? Um,
right.
I think there's still a healthy level of competition between other decks. Um, I think there was just a lot in Boba that you had to overcome that was like high powered that made it difficult. So now you look at the metagame right now and the question just becomes like what's gonna take that void that Boba's leaving?
Right.
It was the king of mid range. So what's the mid range that we're looking at? I've got a couple of ideas, but I think the first one is honestly, what could potentially be the closest replacements in set 3, which is Quinlan Voss. Similar stat line. Um, the hero boba itself has just, or you can call it the hero boba, but I think that I think that heroism mid range is getting a lot of support in set 3, and I'm kind of excited. If you haven't checked out that video that we have, go do that. But
Yeah,
that's kind
shameless plug.
of shameless
We
plug.
have a
We
deck
like,
list for you.
yeah, we're ready to go. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think Quinlan is definitely up there. Him being there are a couple 5 leaders that are 4-6, which is one stat line off of Boba. He's a 3-7, so he's one stat line off of Boba, but he's off in the power. He has the HP,
hmm
the 7, which is, my knowledge, might be the only 5 cost leader with 7 HP now.
which is
Um,
uh, arguably the harder
the,
stat line is
yeah,
the
though
health.
I would rather have that than the 4. Um, like we talked about in the Quinlan video, having the 7 health is a much, much more relevant like benchmark to have versus
Hmm.
the 4 power. Yeah, Quinlan kind of, my initial reaction, like my first initial reaction when this happened was like Quinlan is just going to maybe be the new next Boba.
Hmm.
Just from the playtesting I had with that deck, it could be, right. It has answers to every single leader basically in the game, up to 7 cost leaders or 6 cost leaders, and most of those cards do not require energy conversion lab. They all have ambush built into them.
Yeah.
There's only one of them that really does, and that's Ayla Sakura. All the other ones have ambush built into it, and so that just goes to show you all you need is the leader ping and that card. You have an answer to, the most influential turn in the game normally, which is your leader flip. Um, and then on top of that, yeah, you just have the hero mid range stuff that is just so good. Um, so yeah, we'll have to see. The other one that comes to mind is set 1 Han Solo, whether
Yeah.
it's mono Han from set 1 or Han Green from set 1, because
Okay. Yeah.
you got to remember Boba's getting banned. That doesn't just mean Green Boba's banned. That means Boba Red is banned, Boba Yellow is banned, Boba Blue is banned. There will be no Boba. So mono Han Solo from set 1, he was kind of like second in that mono yellow world, the aggro mid range, and now he's just there. he's the front, right?
Yeah.
He has taken that spot. Um, on top of that, Boba was really able to be that leader that could punish the Han going for greedy, temporary resource plays, the tech DJ stuff, and he's not there anymore. So
Hmm.
will that get out of hand? Who knows? We'll have to see.
Yeah. I think the most recent conversations and just like reading the article and look at the video and like kind of the conversations that are having, I know there's a lot of thoughts on like, well, it's just gonna be a Sabine meta now, which potentially I don't think it's as threatening as like Boba was. Sabine is definitely a concern if you're not prepared for it, or um you're just not, you're not equipped for aggro, or whatever build you have just is not ready to respond to it. But you know, Sabine is typically a problem when it's left alone. If you're trying to like build your board before doing something, if
Right.
you have the early answers to Sabine, it's a lot more manageable. So
For sure.
I'm
Yeah.
not.
And as like a Sabine player for a predominant amount of time in this game, that was my second thought was like, oh man, Sabine is just gonna eat now. Um, but I actually don't think that'll be the case. And
Mhm.
if there is a case to where Sabine needs to get nerfed or added to the suspended list, I honestly think it's just Energy Conversion Lab because Yellow Sabine really isn't doing much anymore right now.
Yeah.
The other two, Mono and Blue, are just like not even existent in the meta. And Green obviously is really strong. Well, Green is just strong because of Energy Conversion Lab. So you take that away, and maybe
Mhm.
Sabine's not even that scary, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
It eventually
and
could
on
be a.
top of that, it could be. At least it's like open to.
Mhm.
I was thinking, I'm like, what if they took Boba and then they just took like the control leader and the aggro leader. Like, so they took out Boba and then they just took out Sabine and they took out
Yeah.
Kira at the same time and just said, have that meta.
Mhm.
I was actually be like, I'd kind of be down for that. Like,
Yeah.
as it is a history just in terms of like TCGs or FPS or like team shooters,
Mhm.
Overwatch, Call of Duty, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, anything. I have always been a fan of there being like a season where something changes and one or two decks rise and they're like broken, or one or two things are like dominating the meta that season.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the season, it changes because something gets adjusted, or something gets banned or removed from the game, et cetera, et cetera. I'm
Yeah.
totally fine with there being like those rotations because then you get something different out of the game. But I think the problem with Boba is, okay, we had set one, right?
Mhm.
Then we had set two. We're like, all right, a lot of these other decks got like all of these cards that kind of brought them up here, which is where, Boba was. Boba got like two or three cards, but that just took him even more. And then
Yeah.
set three, we're looking at it again. All these new decks, all these amazing new decks, cool cards. But Boba gets one or two cards, and
Mhm.
he's just the power creep was too powerful for him
Yeah.
because of how universally good he is. And so I think that's their good call of just being like, this is too unhealthy for the game. You know,
Mhm.
you should not sleeve up a deck and go, I have a 50-50 shot of winning regionals. Like, I know it's not that simple to do the math like that, but
Mhm.
when it comes down to it, it's like I'm playing Boba Fett. I know after our PQ in Minnesota, our whole group was just like, so we're gonna have fun for the first 2 months of set three, and then we're just gonna sleeve up Boba the day before the next
Yeah.
PQ. Like,
Okay.
why wouldn't you? Yep.
Exactly. But yeah, I think it allows for that, little healthier mindset on the game because, I mean, one of the things is like you still want people to want to play the game, and
Yeah.
keeping a leader around that's just constantly punching down on like everything else, and especially like for new players that are trying to get into this. Like, if you like walk into a game and be like, "Oh, well, basically you play Boba Fett or you lose." It's like, well,
Yeah.
and I know it's not that simple always, but like
Yeah. And
when the
walk out of the game.
yeah. So it's yeah, it's just again, the stats don't lie. His stats don't lie. It was the right call on FFG's part to kind of keep the game engaging.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and again, the matchups aren't unwinnable. It's not like Boba was, oh my gosh, you can never defeat him. But the matchup was like an upskill battle, an
Yeah.
uphill battle for the counter to Boba. Like
Hmm.
it was just like no matter what, it was an uphill battle for Boba. And if Boba drew its best hand, it was the best deck in the game.
Well,
There
yeah.
was no other deck that could draw a hand that beat Boba's best hand.
Well, I mean, what you can probably speak to that the most at your PQ. How many how many Bulbas did
Yeah.
you have to try and climb over?
Yeah, 4. And again, I won 2 out of the 4, right? So
Hmm.
the matchup isn't unwinnable, but, like, when they draw their fire sprays and their Boba's armors, and it just feels like, "Oh my gosh, you just can't get over
Yeah.
that hump of, like, this deck is brutal to play into." And that
Yeah.
brings us to another interesting point, right? So they talked about this too, is do they ban specific cards in the deck? Do they just outright
Hmm.
ban the leader? Do they errata the leader? Um, we talked about a lot about that in the live stream. It's in the article as well, so feel free to read the article. It's on Star Wars Unlimited Twitter, and the live stream is on Fantasy Flights Game YouTube. But yeah, they were talking about that, and I'm a very big I do not support a game banning cards from one deck when they can be played in other decks. I'd
Yeah.
rather just ban the problem, which is Boba Fett. Because let's say we get rid of Fett's Fire Spray or Boba's armor. Okay, we're going to ban Boba's armor. Well, the one person playing set two Boba, his deck just got exponentially worse. Like
Yeah.
the one card that kind of keeps that one, um, in the limelight, and it's just gone. Same thing with Fire Spray, even though I despise that card and think it should be a legendary at least. I
Hmm.
believe it says Jango Fett or Boba Fett on that card. And so if we were
Yeah.
to take out Fire Spray, then Jango Fett, set 3 leader, it's like, all right, you don't even get to use this card that you've been holding for 2 sets in the hope of Jango Fett coming out.
Yeah.
Uh, So I think I would have been super against that because again, I really do not like going, hey, let's hurt other decks because one deck is doing the best. And then erratas just get too confusing. I mean, I'm not against erratas, but
Hmm.
for everyone who bought a showcase Boba from set one and then you have to play a different one because it's not correct would just be ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's just that just it can get confusing. Absolutely. Um. Again, they talked a little bit about like the game's accessibility and wanting to avoid erratas to be like, oh, like let me show you this card, but this is not what it actually does.
Yeah,
um, but yeah, I think the way Star Wars Unlimited is made, like having like those fixed positions, like leaders and bases that have those like high impact events, and especially the position like the leader is, I think allows for that opportunity for FFG to have a suspension on a leader and not create a huge impact, or at least minimize the impact for other opportunities with decks. So it's like, yeah, does Fett's Fire Spray seem as dangerous in Jango Fett? Maybe, but definitely not paired with a leader that's like overstated that you're kind of trying to deal with. So
yeah,
I think it's the right approach. I think the game design allows for that unique opportunity to address those situations, and once again, yeah, just a great move. I think it's the right call for the meta.
I agree. Yeah, overall healthy. I'm happy with it. Happy that the door isn't fully closed on it. Who knows? Maybe 4 sets in the future, Boba is going to be the savior we need to come back and
Exactly.
fix the meta. We'll see what happens.
It'll be some off the walls character that we just have to. The only thing is Boba, but
yeah, the only thing that can save us is Boba.
only.
Yeah, but overall, again, really, I mean, it just blew. I think it blew a lot of people out of the water today. I know our group chat was just going crazy when they announced it. Did not expect that at all, even though we were making jokes about it, like, Boba's going to get banned. He's not going to be able to play. No, there's no way they would do that. Like, okay, they're serious. So, again, shout out to FFG for supporting the game this way. I know we greatly appreciate it. I know a big majority of your community greatly appreciates it. I love to see this in a brand new game, developing healthy relationships with the community and their just competitive format in general. So yeah, great work by them. Hope to see more work in the future. Yeah,
love it.
Love it. All right, well, we got shout outs. We got all kinds of shout outs today. We got shout outs for FFG, and then also just want to give a shout out to G Shift, Warding, and Oziak. They are supplying the outro for our channel. I've been friends with them for a long time. Great people. Hit them up on SoundCloud. We will try to put their links down in the video description. Other than that, brother, you got anything else?
I think we got it. Yeah. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep putting out all this great stuff for Star Wars Unlimited. Super excited for what comes next for set 3. With that, Clone Force 23 signing off.
Peace out.
Space tech, spaceports, TCG, card sports, of course, till my voice goes hoarse. Welcome, wrecking, decking with the strategy, the energy, it's Clone Force 23.